Hello YouTube. Today we're going to speak about the impact of exogenous estrogen on the male body. This topic was requested by a bunch of subscribers who wanted to hear more. Let me preface by saying that this is going to be based 100% on personal experience. I will be throwing some science out there, but it's not verified. I don't have a source. So take it as just my personal view on the topic. So, first off, testosterone and estrogen are both produced by males. Of course, males produce more testosterone than estrogen, and it's the opposite for females. Testosterone is the male hormone, estrogen is the female hormone. And within test and estrogen, there are subcategories of hormonal denominations that I'm not going to get into. What to keep in mind is that for a lot of people, for a lot of bodybuilders, we associate high testosterone production with a lot of muscle mass. And estrogen production is associated with fat gain, and it's seen as something that's bad. It's not necessarily bad if the ratio is good. You do want estrogen in your body. If you didn't have any, your mood would be completely irrational. You would have achy joints because they wouldn't be lubricated properly. You would have a tough time recovering from your workouts because of that. And you would basically suffer from a lot of side effects that natural lifters usually don't suffer from. Because the beauty of staying natural is that your hormones know what's up. They stay pretty balanced. You're not going to go and have extremely high estrogen levels and get gyno and all that stuff, but you're not going to be so low that you suffer from the side effects of that either. But just because you're natural doesn't mean that you cannot produce too much estrogen, and it doesn't mean that you cannot produce too little testosterone or the other way around. So let's talk about a very controversial topic then. What impact does exogenous estrogen consumption have on the male body? Straight up, if you take estrogen and you inject it, you are going to be feminized, meaning that you're going to start growing breast tissue and you're going to start resembling a woman more and more. Why? Because you're taking female hormones. The question that people ask themselves is it true when it comes to things that are not straight up human estrogen, artificial or not? Meaning, what about phytoestrogen? What about mammoestrogen? What about these things that we consume all the time? What about xenoestrogen from plastic? In my opinion, these things definitely have an impact, but depending on your genetics, depending on how receptive you are, it might not have as big of an implication as with other individuals. Example, people say that soy is bad. People say that males shouldn't drink soy because it's feminizing. And I have done tons of research on the subject. And yes, you have a ton of studies that show that it's completely false, but you also have specific cases of males that you can look up online that basically transitioned or lost a lot of male characteristics and gained a lot of female characteristics by replacing a lot of their diet by soy, because soy replaced enough of their protein intakes that didn't feel the need to eat other types of foods, and therefore they consumed an overabundance of soy, which the vast majority of studies don't really test for. They test for soy consumption, not soy overconsumption. But you also have individuals who can drink soy, like a gallon of soy milk a day, and be completely fine. It depends on how your estrogen receptors react to that exogenous hormone. For some people, it's not going to do anything. And then you have milk, because people like to bag on soy, but milk, cow milk, has a ton of estrogen too. And in certain people, it has the same effect. For me, I can testify that drinking milk didn't give me gyno, but it did heighten fat and water retention in areas of the body that are known for having a lot of estrogen receptors. And for me, it's my love handles. Love handles, my waist, all of that. Back when I was drinking a ton of milk, there was a certain plumpness to it that wasn't natural. And I could tell it wasn't because when I was fat, when I say fat, I was 240 at 6 feet, which is fat. My love handles were out of control. But I told myself, well, it's because I'm fat, right? I'm going to lose the weight, it's going to go away. And then I did a crash cut to 205, and the love handles were still there. They weren't as big, but they were still there. So my body was like this: shoulders, love handles, hips, legs. And I couldn't figure out why, because I had a six pack, but those love handles were there. And roughly 4 months ago, I think, something happened in my life that I might explain later as the channel grows, that forced me to give up on certain things like milk and red meat. A lot of red meat I don't consume anymore. And both of these have a lot of mammal estrogen in them. And I have noticed a distinct change in the way my body distributes fat, because I've maintained the same weight. I haven't lost any weight from when I've cut those products because my calories haven't changed. But the way my body looks is different. I really lost a ton of love handles. And it's not like I lost any, I have lost fat, but it's just like, it looks like they just don't have the ability to retain the water anymore. So it's slimming down. I'm not saying it's a cure to love handles, but if you do have a good body, you're muscular and you're veiny, but you have those fat love handles and you don't know where they're coming from, try and give up those products. Try and give up dairy and see what happens. So that's my experience on that. Other people might have other experiences because a ton of people consume milk and not everyone has super, not everyone is going to experience that feminization effect. Another thing that a subscriber asked that is important to keep in mind is your body is going to stay balanced. So there is a thing to say about, does testosterone production impact estrogen production? And if you have very high estrogen production, is it going to raise your testosterone? Is it going to lower it? For me, I know that my strength and my muscle size, when I had higher, in my opinion, estrogen, wasn't higher, it wasn't lower, and lowering my estrogen didn't change anything here either. So I'm not too sure about that. I don't know what science has to say about that, but for me, this is not what I focused on when I cut those products out. So this is pretty much my opinion on that. And then you have the flip side of it, meaning that there are certain foods that are said to be good for testosterone production, like raw garlic, onions, capers are supposed to be very good for testosterone production. All of these are supposed to boost testosterone. And again, I've started eating some of them, especially onions and raw garlic, because they're good for my health. Did I feel like I'm gaining testosterone? I don't know. I haven't done any tests. What I can tell you for sure is that, especially with raw garlic, the pumps I'm getting and the quality of the pumps is insane. And the vascularity I get in certain areas of my body is really starting to show, even though I'm not losing a ton of weight. I'm not doing a cut. It's still showing through. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm never going to be one of those channels that is going to go out and create diagrams to show you like, oh, this is what science says, and it's just not me. But some of you wanted to hear my thoughts on it. So there it is. I hope this was helpful for you. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.